All right, folks, welcome to the free GRE Prep Hour. Let me explain a little bit about myself and then what else we are up to today. So, free GRE Prep Hour is something of a marketing thing, but it's also an opportunity for us as instructors of the GRE to kind of nerd out a little bit on one particular subject or another. We cover a lot in our classes, and the free GRE Prep Hour is an opportunity for us to really deep dive on one subject or another, some subject that we like or that we have fun on. Gets you all to know us as instructors and also allows us to show off one of our bits of knowledge and teach some things we don't always get an opportunity to teach. So that's what we're here for. I'm Neil Thornton. I have been teaching for the GRE since I think 1994 was when I got started. Notice the gray in the beard. I am currently in wonderful Wellington, New Zealand. So I'm on the other side of the planet from some of you. Russia and closer to the people in Hawaii. But yeah, I'm a GRE instructor. I've been teaching GRE and GMAT and LSAT for a very, very long time. Also working stand-up comic. And that's me. That's my life. Teaching GRE classes right now. I have one, I believe, called Fall F starting on Monday. So if you have any questions about that during class, by all means, check in. Those of you watching on video, hello. Those of you watching online, please, please, please engage, participate, ask me a lot of questions, argue with me. I love that. Challenge my ideas. I also love that as well. But real quick, check in. Are you all seeing the screen that says free GRE Prep Hour in addition to my graying face? Say yes. Yep. All right. Wonderful. All right. So our source of all of our questions today are going to largely come out of the 5-pound book, the GRE Practice Problems. This is probably the most popular. I think it's the most popular prep book that's for sale on Amazon. Now, if those of you just starting your preparation right now, oh my God, you do not have to do all of this book to do well. If you do, you probably will. But I don't suggest you start from page 1 and crank your way through this. My best practice for using the 5-pound book is to use practice tests, either the Power Prep GRE software or Manhattan Prep's free practice tests or Manhattan Prep's tests that we use throughout the class to identify my strengths and weaknesses. And when I identify an area that needs some improvement, then I'm going to go back to our strategy guides, figure out what areas I need to learn, what I need to memorize, and then I'm going to use the 5-pound book, find a chapter in the 5-pound book with which to drill the hell out of whatever areas I have. So last time I took the GRE for score, trying to get a high enough score, I identified, oh, okay, so there's some stats areas I need to work on. What is a quartile? And so I went back to the chapters there. Inequalities, I needed some practice, went back to the inequalities chapter, and generally used the 5-pound book as a repair guide. Today's agenda, what we're going to be working on is I'm actually going to be running all of you from scratch through our best practices, both for preparing for fill-in-the-blank verbal questions and also how to best do fill-in-the-blank questions on GRE test day, on the real day. So how to tackle them on test day and also how to best prepare using our guides or using the official guide or anything like that. So the two kinds of questions you are going to see on the GRE verbal section are going to be what we call text completions and also what we call sentence equivalence. I'll talk about the difference between them. Some of you may remember from SAT days what they called sentence completions, more or less the same thing. We'll look at the format. I'll give you a strategy. We'll talk about doing homework. And then we're going to go on. And in the last maybe 5 minutes of this session, I do want to talk briefly about how to finish a quant section. Like people are, a lot of questions have come in like, I'm okay at math. I'm not terrible at math, but yet I never seem to be able to finish a quant section. So I'm going to give a hopefully a surprising and relieving answer to that question. But here we go, folks. I want to run you through a couple questions, through some very good strategies, and then we will rock from there. Okay? Give me a smiley face if you're ready to go. Excellent, wonderful. Here we go. All right, so what we got on the board are two what we call text completion questions from our 5-pound book. Now, text completion is a little bit different from what we call sentence equivalence. Things I want you to notice are Don't start working the question yet, and if you can avoid that, I would prefer that for me. But some things I want you to notice about this. How many blanks in each of these sentences? Each sentence has how many blanks? Okay, so I got one blank. Also, how many answer choices am I given? 5 answer choices. Okay, so this is a really straight up what we call text completion. All right, I want you to kind of glance at the whole question overall. And so one of the things, step number one, strategy number one for text completion and or sentence equivalence is take a second, half a second otherwise, and just make sure you've identified what kind of question you're working. All right, so ID the question. Also in our glib ways, when I teach, I call this ultimately RTFQ, which stands for read the question. So make sure you've read the question and know what kind of question you're working on. By the way, this is math, this is verbal, this is reading comprehension. Read the effing question or read the full question and know what you're up to. So one blank, 5 answers. We have a real basic, what we call text completion. So those of you who have done some little GRE work so far, how many of these 5 answers are going to be correct? Ooh, okay. So Krista, when you have 6 answer choices, when you have a spare answer choice hanging off the bottom, also you'll be able to see the formats a little bit different. When we have 6 answer choices like this, we're going to have 2 right. And also notice the little boxes off to the side there. We got little boxes off to the side, and we've got 6 answer choices. That's when we're looking for 2 to be correct. Things like that look like this with 5 answer choices, we're looking for 1 to be correct. So that quick stitch of like, oh, okay, I'm looking for 1 right answer can help me a lot knowing that. All right, there we go. Now let's talk about some logic. What is the next logical thing to do? At least I know I'm on a text completion kind of question. Now what? What would be a logical thing to do now? Yeah, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to read the full sentence. All right. So at this point, I'm going to just go ahead and read the sentence. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cover up these answer choices because I really don't want to look at these yet. I want to get these. And if in fact, while we're doing this today, if you can get your non-writing hand and actually go ahead and cover up the screen and train yourself to not look at these answers, this will help you a lot. So what we need to do now is we need to get in there, and we call this find your proof. It's reading the full sentence, understanding the story of the sentence, but I'll talk about what I mean by finding your proof here in a moment. So take a second and read this to yourself, and I'll wait. Okay, cool. All right, so I'll read this out loud. In Europe, football, otherwise known as soccer, is the most popular sport by several orders of magnitude, whereas in the United States, fandom is fairly evenly blank among a few different sports. All right, I'm going to come back a little bit to finding our proof here, but I want you to actually kind of gauge right now. Step 3 for us is I need to predict an answer in my own head as to what I think, what word might fill in the blank. So everybody give me an option of what word might fill in the blank right here. Fandom is fairly evenly what? Among a few different. All right, distributed, spread. I love these. All right, cool. So what I'm going to jot on my scratch paper actually is A, B, C, D, E. And I'm going to put something like fairly evenly distributed, fairly evenly spread. Now, why distributed? Why spread out? What was your proof for that in this sentence? I'm going to say everybody 100% bang on, really good prediction. But why? All right, so we got whereas. I love whereas. Whereas is a good tool. We got that contrast. Contrast to what? All right, among a few different sports. All right, I like that. Fairly evenly. Okay, what else? what is contrasted in Europe? So it says fairly evenly among a few different sports. Sure, but it could be popular, right? Okay. So notice how here, up here on the other side of the sentence, we have most popular. So if I'm reading this whole sentence, RTFQ, read the full sentence, if we've got one thing as the most popular, got one thing the most popular, let's even not read the second half of this and just look at the word whereas. Just seeing that first half of the sentence, if I say soccer is the most popular, whereas in the US, where else could an author go with that based on those contrasts? Give me other ends of that sentence. So soccer is the most popular in Europe, whereas in the United States, okay, soccer isn't popular. What else? What other predictions could I make? American football is the most popular. Baseball is the most popular. Cricket is the most popular. All right, cool. We just need to know, and I like how Nisha put it very simply, football is the most popular in the United States. Soccer is not. Like Nisha's, all I know is soccer is not, then I use the rest of the sentence fairly evenly. Okay, so fairly evenly. So we've got distributed and we got spread out. Okay, so I've made a clear prediction and we are 99.9% of the way there. Now I've got to rock a little POE. And what I mean by, anybody done a little prep before? What do we mean by POE? We got multiple choice. What's POE called? What does POE stand for? Yay, process of elimination, process of elimination. All right, you may not be able to find the right answer, but you can definitely get rid of the wrong ones. So as diligently as I can, I'm gonna get over here on my scratch paper, and you should have A, B, C, D, E written on your scratch paper. I'm gonna get over here on my scratch paper and say, does regarded mean distributed or spread out? Yes or no? Or maybe. Would you say Y, N, or M? All right, cool. So does regarded mean spread, Nisha? If I say he is regarded as, does that mean spread out? Like, I can spread butter. Can you regard butter? All right, cool. So, all right. So A is not what I predicted, and I want you to, and here's the game, everybody. The key to this right here, right now, is make a prediction and stay with it. If you can do that, you're gonna get way more right. Because fairly even regarded sounds good, doesn't it? Oh my God, does that sound great? Fairly evenly regarded. All right. However, it's not my prediction, so I'm going to try to get rid of it as thoroughly as I can. All right. Does inspired mean spread? Yes, no, maybe. All right, cool. Enjoyed. Yeah, and I can put a little no question mark next to something if I'm like, oh, fairly evenly enjoy, that may not quite work out. Measured. Does that mean spread? Yeah, not necessarily. And so I've got one left, and the cool thing about this is maybe, what do you think? Yes, no, or question mark, I don't know what that means. Apportioned. Yeah, fairly evenly apportioned. So some of you might be yes question mark, some of you might be no question mark. And so notice what I'm working here is, do I have to know every word to get a good score on verbal? No, I don't. The more I know, the better. The easier it is, the faster it is. But in this case, A, B, C, and D didn't work. And E is the only one left, and I'm fine, E for answer. All right, so things I can do on my scratch paper are go cross it off. I can write yes. I can write squiggle for kinda. I can write M for maybe. I can put question mark for I don't even know what that means. So I can cross it off. I can pick it. I can go no. I can do squiggle. So my process of elimination doesn't have to be a simple yes, no, and I don't have to be crystal clear on it. but I can, yeah, rock some POE. So cool. All right, so apportioned. All right, so I like apportioned. I'm going to pick that. Now, that's GRE test day in a nutshell. Identify the question, read the full question, find your proof, most popular, fairly evenly. Okay, I've got some proof for why I thought it was spread out. Make sure you got a good, clear prediction. Think it up in your head, write it down on your scratch paper if you need to, then cross stuff up. That's it, done, end of sentence. You may go home now. Y'all get perfect 170s on the verbal. Okay. All right, so let's talk about making this a better practice. So on the GRE test day, I'm done. That's my task. For practice, some things I want you to do when you are practicing at home. Things I don't want you to do are to go look up the answer right away. That gives you a little satisfaction that you're not going to get on test day, so I want you to not do that. So don't look up the answer right away. What would be a really good thing to do right now? Let's say if there were words you didn't know the definitions of, what would be a good practice to do for homework? If there was a word you didn't know, what should you do? Yeah, all right. Yeah, so this is a beautiful opportunity to now I have a word in context and I have other words in context. So any word I don't know, I'm just going to look them up. I'll be, excuse me, probably going to look them up, and I'm probably going to do this somewhere like in the back of my 5-pound book somewhere, like some last page of my 5-pound book. I wish I had my old one. My old one has got like 300 vocabulary words and garbage definitions just in the back of the book. So I just want to add them to our list. So right now, let's say I have the word apportioned. Luckily, with cell phones and laptops right now, it's super easy to look up words. You don't have to go to a dictionary anymore. So everybody, go into Google and just put the word apportioned in a Google search for me real quick. And what is a good definition for apportioned? All right, so I got divide and allocate. All right, divide to allocate. Cool. All right, so to divide things up, to allocate. All right, so that's step one, is to go look up any word. Okay, I got a portion, that means divide and allocate. Another thing I might want to do is to pop that on a flashcard if I am making actual physical flashcards. At some point, I need to pop that on a flashcard. The next thing I may want to do is to take a second and make a mnemonic out of it. Mnemonic meaning a memory device. So let's talk about making a mnemonic device. What I want to do with a mnemonic device is this word, and actually, you know what? I'll just let's go there like that. Okay. Yeah, I'll go back. I'll talk about mnemonics here. All right. With any word, what I want to do is I need that word to generate a visual image in my head, and that visual image to generate the actual definition. So it needs to make a visual image, and that visual image needs to somehow link to the definition. All right, so I'm going to write this down for you. A mnemonic is an image and a link. So what word is super familiar in apportioned? Yeah, portion. Okay. So a portion of what that may start with the letters AP? So I got portion, and that I recognize, but give me a random thing that starts with AP, with the letters AP. Random, stupid, apple. All right, cool. So let's do apple. I was going to take the first one that popped up, and so we have apple. So let's talk about the image now. Apportioned is you chopping up an apple. All right, so that's the visual image here. And then what are you doing with that apple that then links that to the definition? So you're taking an apple and you're cutting it into portions. And now what are you doing with that apple? You're serving it and distributing it. All right. So I'm portioning up apple pie, or I'm portioning up appointments, like I'm giving people different appointments, right? So apportioned gives me the image of chopping up an apple now. And the link is now I'm serving that apple out evenly to other people. All right. And so how long does that take to come up with in your head? Yeah, not long, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. If you just get used to it. And by the way, goofy images, stupid images, obscene images, morbid images, anything there are all going to be part of it. So not only am I writing the word down, I'm looking the word up. And then I'm looking the word up. And then I'm making a flashcard. And also I'm going to take a little bit of an effort to make a mnemonic now, so I don't have to worry about it later. Also, at this point, you may want to change your answer. Anybody want to change their answer based on that? Does divide and allocate match my prediction of distributing and spreading out? Yeah, okay, matches enough. I'm going to stick with that answer. Okay, so I've done all of this really heavy lifting now before I've let myself look up the answers. And I may, at this point, have to change my answer like, oh, wow, okay, I'm totally wrong. I need to shift over here. The other thing I may want to do is now I might want to look up the answer and see whether I'm right or not. And I'm looking up the answer and I'm telling, yep, you're right. Ta-da. Easy enough. All right, so let's go and knock out another one. So here's the thing. What I'm going to do again for you all is I'm going to take these answers, I'm going to cover them up. And let's do steps 1, 2, and 3. And I'll just let you do those on your own. So let's read, identify the question. Okay, 5 answers, 1 answer's right. Text completion. I'm going to read the full sentence, and then we're going to talk about finding proof here, finding some clues, finding some pivot words along the way. All right, so I'm going to turn off the mic for like 30 seconds while you do steps 1, 2, and 3. All right, so let's go back to step 1. All right, so I got 1 blank, 5 answers. Okay, I'm only looking for 1 answer at this point. And let's take a look at number 2. All right, the astrophysicist argues that our books and films about interstellar space travel form a mass blank. Now, you've heard thousands of words with mass blank. Give me all the words. We've heard mass blank thousands of times in our life. Mass what? Mass communication, mass destruction, mass hysteria. All right, so never ever fill in a word until you've read the rest of the effing sentence, okay? Mass destruction, mass hysteria, mass communication. You've heard a lot of these words before. Finish the sentence, the full sentence. Okay, now, and that only a miracle on a scale heretofore unseen could allow a human being to voyage to even the closest star in another solar system. So let's analyze that second half of the sentence and see if we can't find some proof for what we should fill in here. And we call these clues, like most popular, fairly evenly. Those are good clues here. That whereas may be a good pivot. We go these pivots or shifting words or transition words or trigger words, depending on where you go. All right, so we got that and that. All right, so let's look at the second half of the sentence because all of our clues are going to hang out there. Only a miracle on a scale heretofore unseen. It's going to take a miracle could allow a human being to voyage. So are we going to get to space or not, according to this guy? No. All right, cool. So tell me about our books and films. They're a mass what? What would you fill in? We're not going to get there, but we have all these books and films about it. All right, delusion, misconception, miscommunication. All right, so I love it. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to do pretty much the same thing. So jot down your word here as well. So we're not going to get there. We got all these books and films, and they're kind of a delusion. They're kind of misinformation. They're not true. All right, so I like fabrication. I like delusion. I like miscommunication, mass lie, mass exaggeration, right? It's going to take a miracle to get there. We think we will, but it's all kind of a fabrication, a delusion, a miscommunication, a lie. These are all wonderful fill-ins. And notice you're not trying to guess the vocab word. You're just mass lie. I like a lie. Or, and by the way, your fill-in for step 3, your little prediction could be a swear word. It could be mass bullshit or mass whatever. It doesn't matter. You can. So now that I've done that, now I'm hanging on to that thing, a delusion, a fabrication, a lie. Now I can go and rock some POE. All right. So hang on to your prediction. Does innovation mean delusion or miscommunication or lie? Yes, no, maybe. No. All right, cool. Delusion mean fabrication, delusion, miscommunication, lie? Yes, no, maybe. Yeah, okay, so I'll put a yes in that one. Dementia. Yeah, what's wrong with dementia? Yeah, I'm gonna put like a no question mark. Like, maybe, kinda, but what's what's wrong with dementia? Yeah, applies to people, right? Not so much the books and things, right? Also, I don't know, like dementia is a little too strong. It's like, it's not like, if he had said, and that anyone who, like if I said here, right, astrophysicists argues books and films about inner space trace time are more of a mass blank, and that anyone who believes so is certifiably insane. If I had that as proof, sure, dementia, but like, yeah. So if we had certifiably insane as my clue, as my proof, then maybe, but C is way too strong. All right. Catastrophe. Is that a fabrication, delusion, or a lie? Nope. Okay. What about hysteria? Yeah, again, Anthony, too strong, not too much. All right. So this is funny in that delusion could work, dementia could work, hysteria could work, and in fact, they all could work. Well, what's the only answer choice I actually have proof for? Yeah, cool. Delusion. Nice. Okay. All right. Are there any words here you feel you would like to look up? If so, like, there's no harm, no foul in not really knowing what a dementia is or what a catastrophe is. That's fun. Like, we're all, from all over the world here, with different levels of reading and different vocabulary because we all come from different places. If there's a word in here you want to look up, just write it down. I have my, I have a desk pad right down here in which I write words all the time and look them up later. So, all right, there we go, folks. That's our basic process. So if I could, I'll just show you a slide we show in class here, and then we're going to bring that over to text completion. So here we go. 4-step process, identify the question. Hey, is it text completion? Is it sentence equivalence? Lay out your scratch paper, read the whole sentence and nothing but the sentence. Don't fill it in before you finish the sentence because your brain will say, oh, mass hysteria, and then you pick hysteria right off the bat. Big distractor, don't do that. Make a prediction, simple fill in, reuse language, be lazy, anything there. And we'll talk about multiple blanks from here. And then POE, eliminate, find a match. Cool, here we go. What's the difference here on number 6? Yeah, Anthony, Anthony asked a really good question, which is, how do you get over stumbling reading words you don't know how to pronounce while trying to understand the reading? Number one, Anthony, is just read more books so you get used to that, because, by the way, it's not a pronunciation test. Like, it's never a pronunciation test. So my little thing I do in my head is I just pronounce it either that, I'm so used to reading without actually hearing the words in my head that I don't give a damn. The other thing is I go a little Charlie Brown's Parents on myself. I go, when I get to a word like that, I go, wah wah. And just keep moving on because you can always get it from context. So look, how many words in Harry Potter did you not know how to pronounce? You know, Alohomora or hello. I couldn't even pronounce Hermione for the first 4 years until I saw the damn movies. There's so many words you don't actually know how to pronounce, and everything else you read, you just kind of boop, boop, right over it. You know, I thought it was Hermione or something way back when. Pick a pronunciation and run. I'll show you one from there. Oh, okay, so here we go. 2 blanks. Okay, so the key here is exactly the same, but here's my advice is 1 blank at a time. So you kind of run through this process twice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you just kind of pick a blank and run with that one and use that one to fill out the other one. That's it. So second blank, then first, or first blank, then second. Which one, you know, when you get to the sentence, which blank are you crystal clear on? Which blank do you have proof for? We'll do that one. All right, so let's run through it together. So now I got a 2 blanks text completion. So on my scratch paper, while I'm getting ready to process this, I'm gonna make a little mini tic-tac-toe. So I got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just kind of I'm not going to draw the box around it, but I want to show you. I'm going to draw the grid for the answer choices ready. Okay. So number 6, the fact that the average life expectancy 10,000 years ago was so much shorter than it is now is often blanked as evidence supporting the notion that the world always improves with time. However, if you blank for the fact that most children in that epoch died in childbirth, life expectancy for those who survived birth was nearly the same as it is now. Which blank are you kind of clear on? Blank 1 or blank 2? Yeah, notice everybody's different. So screw it. Pick one of those. All right. The first thing that came up was blank 2. But here's the deal. If you pick blank 1, fill that one in. Run. So let's go with blank 2 for a second. If you blank for the fact, if you do what? Take into. All right. So take into, account for. So take the fact, account for the fact, consider the fact. These are all great. All right. What is our proof for that? Do we have any strong? Yeah. Okay. So we got however. So that's a nice pivot word. So things have changed here. Anything else in there that tells me we need to count? Same as then and now, right? So, right. Ooh. Actually, Anthony's, yeah, all right. I love this. Take in all of the evidence. All right. I love the word evidence as a really crystal clear clue for the take in. Like we got to account, we got to take the evidence in, we got to account for the evidence, we got to consider all the evidence. All right. So take into account, consider, these are all wonderful. All right. So now that I have a clear prediction, I'm pretty much ready to go. All right. Which one is considering, take into account, prepare, read, or correct? What do you think? And take it into context. Are you preparing for the fact? Are you reading for the fact? Or are you correcting for the fact? Oh, nice. Okay. And this is one where you might just go back and really check your proof there and like, oh, correct for the fact. Okay. So that's one of the things that, however, evidence, however, we got to correct it. I'm cool with correcting. Okay. Nice. Anything we need to look up at this moment? Yeah, I'm cool. All right. Correcting is kind of an interesting scientific. All right. So now we got to go back to step 1. And we've read the sentence, but I may read it again. All right. So the fact that the average life expectancy was so much shorter is often blank as evidence. Is often what as evidence? What word would you fill in for blank 1? Yeah, seen, used, accepted, mentioned. I love it. These are all great fill-ins. And all you got to do is just like used as evidence, seen as evidence. And let's go for that. All right. So used and seen. All right. So what's our favorite one at that point? Yeah, cited as evidence. So notice how disregard is 100% opposite, and then embodied, does that mean just seen and used and cited? That's a little too strong or a little bit too far, a little bit out of scope of what I'm done. Cool. All right. So you got your techniques down. All right, smiley faces or frowny faces? And then again, anything else I need to look up here? All right, so I got a lot of smiley faces, people watching the recording. Excellent. All right, so what is different now? I'm going to change for a new one. All right, so multiple blanks, just one blank at a time. No partial credit, unfortunately. You got to get both of them right to get these right. So when you get to maybe a three blank one, you may want to save that for later, depending on how tough that. Again, somebody asked about pronunciation. Yeah, so is this Hearst House or Hearst Hosi or Hoosie or whatever, or emulate or emulate? I don't care. Pronunciation is not the key there. So here we go. Okay, what's different? 6 answers. And then the little boxes tells me what? I got to pick 2. So now we're into the realm of what we call sentence equivalence, where 2 answers are going to be equivalent to each other. So I want to make sure I write down A, B, C, D, E, F. And this just, at first, it may take 10 or 20 seconds for you to process whether it's text completions or sentence equivalence and how many answers are right. It may take a little time. More practice, just taking that ID the question stage, makes that an unconscious process. But I will tell you, when I first came to the GRE and they started dividing up text completions and sentence equivalent, I kept doing the wrong thing on the wrong thing. I kept picking one answer on these, 2 answers on the other, and it always kept screwing me up, and it wasted a lot of time until I got into this habit of just, okay, which one is this? Fine. So get in that habit. And this is, again, homework habits. So here we go. I'm going to cover some answers for you. You may already have an answer for you. I don't care. All right, here we go. At work, she's far less blank than she is around her friends. So I don't know what she is yet. I need some clues. But from time to time, her staff sees her in a volatile state. Okay. This is an interesting one. What do you think is our proof? What do you think is our clue that we really need to pay attention to here? I've read this, but I just want to actually pay attention to the clues and then reread this. All right, we got the but. So she's far less blank than she is around her friends, but from time to time they see her in a blah, blah, blah. So what are we contrasting around her friends? Okay, so we're all about this clue right here. All right, so if I can really talk about the clue here, really volatile. All right, cool. So think about, what does volatile mean anyway? If you're in a volatile state, what are you? Okay, changing, unstable. Yeah, violently unstable, changing, unpredictable. All right, cool. So, nice. If you don't want to, I wouldn't look that up before doing it. We might see there. All right, so knowing we got the but and we got volatile state, but also there's a couple of other things I want to pay attention to here. We've got actually kind of what may ultimately be almost a quadruple negative in here, less this and from time to time this. What would your fill-in be? Stable or unstable? Changing or not changing? Predictable or unpredictable? What would you fill in the blank with? All right, by the way, awesome. Really good. So you're paying attention to the but all I have to do is point out, ooh, less of this and then more of this. And in fact, I kind of had to actually, when I was prepping for this, I actually had to kind of go off that I'm less blank at work, right? but sometimes at work I'm happy. All right, so I'm going to just simplify that sentence and, well, my other job. uh, right. So I look at that structure and want to work out, are we talking same as volatile or opposite of volatile? And it looks like less volatile than she's around her friends, but sometimes the staff sees her volatile side. All right. So we are actually, even despite that but, we're going with volatile here. All right. So I'm less happy at work, but sometimes at work I'm happy. Here we go. All right. Smiley faces if you're with me on that one. So notice all the proof is like the flipping structure. I'm less this at work, but sometimes at work I'm blank. All right. Pay attention. Slow down, right? That's the full in RTFQ. Pay attention to all of it. What the test writers are really hoping, if I can analyze what's happening here, is the test writers want to get a bell curve out of everybody. They want a nice, pretty bell curve. So they want that knee-jerk response to be right only half the time, right? So they are trying to trick people who are not reading the full sentence, and they're trying to trick people who are missing clues like less and time to time. And they want a lot of people to do a knee-jerk response, a really quick fill in, and to get it 100% wrong. So notice what happened here is if you miss the less and you miss the time to time, you're going to go the opposite way. And then back here with the mass, whatever it was, let me flip back here. Mass, look, mass dementia, mass catastrophe, mass hysteria, those all sound right. You're not reading the full sentence. So give yourself a second. That's our game. All right, so here we go. Back to volatile state. All right, well, volatile. And we know our prediction is either volatile, but I've also thought about what volatile means, and we need unpredictable, unstable. So she's far less unpredictable, unstable. Okay, cool. Now, how many correct answer choices are we looking for? Okay, so 2 right answers. Excellent. Does pretentious mean unpredictable and unstable? Yes, no, maybe. Nope. Okay, cool. Capricious. Yes, no, maybe. Question mark if you don't know what it means. All right, so we got some question marks. We got some yeses in there. Informal. Does that mean unpredictable and unstable? No. Okay. Fickle. Yeah, okay, so I could put a yes. Some of you might have a question mark. I love, by the way, I always love when my students give me a question mark. That just is so important for you to just go, I don't know, question mark. Just don't stare at a word hoping that the definition will magically appear at you. It won't. Just put a question mark next to it. Direct. Nope. Okay. And then explicit. Nope. Okay. So even if you didn't know what fickle and capricious meant, that's it. We've crossed off everything else. Ta-da. Yay. Sweet. All right. There we go. And now, do I check my answers? What do I have to do first? Yeah, look up words you don't know. All right, so if you've got a letter from A to, if your a username starts with A to K, look up capricious for me. If you are, if your name starts M to Z or M to Z, look up fickle for me. So what does capricious mean? All right, changing frequently. All right, so being fickle, yeah, all right, whimsical, changing your mind all the time. Like if you've got somebody who's, yeah, unpredictable. And what does fickle mean? So I got fickle, changing frequently. Cool. And then capricious? Do they erratic? Yeah, all right, erratic. Okay, unpredictable change. So notice how they're really similar to each other. So if you are working on some flashcards and if you can find them, I would actually put those two maybe next to each other for a second. And on the back of the capricious card, I would write fickle. And on the back of the fickle card, I would write capricious. So that we once the test writers match two words like fickle and capricious together, they're way more likely to do that again in the future. What's kind of the difference between capricious and fickle and volatile? Like, how are they slightly different? That's just a little bit of moment of an analysis there. So capricious, erratic, unpredictable, fickle, erratic. I think capricious is kind of more of a positive term. Like I'd rather have a capricious friend than a fickle friend. I don't know why. Like if I'm going to go party with a capricious friend, we're going everywhere. We're having a lot of fun. If I'm going partying with a fickle friend, we may not go out. You know what I mean? So, all right. Yeah, and volatile, I don't want to go party with a volatile friend because they're going to blow up at me. So thinking about how they match, but also thinking about some of the differences in connotation or usage, like, yeah. So a capricious friend, maybe a little bit more positive, fickle, maybe a little bit more negative, volatile, definitely, no, we're not hanging. They were cool, lovely. One more thing I wanna do a little bit on sentence equivalence before I move on is as part of working answers, I may want to take a second and do some answer matching as part of my POE step. And I can do that part of my, any time in the process if I need to get it down to two. Notice how direct and explicit are very, very close to each other. Pretentious, is there any other answer choice that has any relevance or equivalence or synonymness to pretentiousness? No. And same thing with informal. Informal doesn't have any match to it. So in sentence equivalence, I know actually that pretentious and informal, neither one of those can be the answer because they don't have a match. You gotta have a match to be the right answer. And so again, capricious and fickle. And notice through just a second of answer choice matching, I've really actually got this down to a 50. Either capricious and fickle or direct and explicit. Which way do I want to go? All right. And then I can reread the sentence and maybe at the end I can reread the sentence in that case. So this is one quick example here before I go and talk about Quant for a second. Let's ignore the sentence, and what are some words that match each other in the answers? So ignore the sentence altogether and help me match some answer choices to each other. Okay, so derivative and trite. Cool. What else? Anything else match? Yeah, visionary and inspired, those match. Now, does anything match enigmatic? Is cerebral match the same as enigmatic? Or yeah, okay, so notice how enigmatic and cerebral, neither one of those really match each other. Okay, so now I'm up to a 50-50 shot. All right. The music of the late 70s is often described as blank, despite the notable exception of a few innovators. Okay, so we found it, I read it, I found my proof. Despite the innovators, what's my answer? Derivative and trite or inspired and visionary? Yeah, derivative and trite, ta-da, and those two, and I got A and B, and I'm ready to go. All right, so people think sentence equivalence is actually harder, and the necessity of having two matching answer choices with a little bit of answer analysis actually makes it a bit easier for you. All right, so that's kind of what we do a little bit in class. In a nutshell, we take 3 or 4 weeks to go over this and do this again and again and again and again, and you get a lot of vocabulary work in class. But if you follow that process while you're practicing, cover those answers, read the whole thing, find some proof, your buts and your yets and your clues, do your answer choice analysis, then don't look up the answer, look up your words, change things if you want to change things, then look up your answer. And If you're still wrong, you missed a clue somewhere, then you go back and find your proof, fix it, figure out what you missed here. And if you do this again and again, and like you do it once, you fix it. If you get it wrong again and you want to deal that question out to yourself again, you can do that for yourself, or you just make flashcards and you go from there. And if the more religiously you follow that, the better it is. And in fact, on my best verbal score ever in my life, I had my hand to the screen over my answers on every single question. I just didn't want to look at the answers. Guessing when there are words in the sentence itself that you don't know that are clues. Yeah, Madison, I would get in the habit of really finding, the thing we do in class is spend a lot of time analyzing and finding those clues here, right? So is notable a clue? Is, exception of innovators in this case, clues are clues. And you may have to reverse engineer this. But again, Madison, one of the things there is like a little answer choice matching. That doesn't hurt. If you're down to 2, one of the things I like to do when I'm down to 2, like I say, prepare, let me see if there's one I would more likely use here. Okay. So even the blank and alluring charms of Paris. Okay, well, Paris is, so here Madison asks a question of, the words in the sentence itself you don't know that are clues. Okay, so could be lascivious and alluring. It could be sophisticated and alluring. It could be foreign and alluring. It could be alien and alluring. Like those are all things that are Paris, might be lascivious, might be sophisticated, might be foreign, might be alien. And let's just say you're down to these 2, which happens all the time. I'm guessing here, and I'm down between here, sophisticated and foreign. Now, Madison, I might actually go ahead and I might go ahead and go, now I want to hunt for clues here. Is there anything in here that has any relevance to either sophisticated and or foreign here as far as clues? Quaint, cool. Okay, so notice we got this structure, by the way, that I just want to point out for you. We got simple and quaint, and we've got blank and alluring. So having gotten down to 2 answer choices might help you, getting it down to those 2. So alluring, opposite of quaint, what's the opposite of simple, sophisticated or foreign? Yeah, okay, better. Yeah, a little bit better. Is lascivious? Nah, that would be the opposite of prudish. All right, right. Foreign would be the opposite of domestic. Alien would be the opposite of normal, alienating. Right. So you can use, once you're down to 2, you can go back and hunt for clues. Somebody else asked, what if you predict an answer that's not an answer choice option? Yeah, you want to get it down to a few. You get it down to 2 or 3. If you cross off all 5, great. Go back, find a better clue. This is not necessarily a linear process. In fact, I'll go, I may actually predict, and then I find proof of my prediction, and then I get to POE, and then I go, wait a minute, which one's our proof? So you can bounce a lot to like, I know this is my prediction. Wait, how did I know it was that? And then I'll go do some POE, and I'm down to 2, and okay, which one more matches my clue? And you get to be a little bit more of an organic than a straight step-by-step process. You can do it. You're all good. Take practice. Growth mindset, do your vocab. All right, here we go. Let's talk about finishing quant for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to wrap it up from here. So how many of you have ever finished a quant section and got on a 170? How many people in the world do you think, out of 100 people, how many do you think actually finish every question in a quant section and get a 170? How many people do you think that is? Out of 100. Okay, there are maybe less than 1% get a 170. So maybe a half a person out of 100. And out of those people who get a 170, I'm going to give you like probably 0 of them do every question in quant. Okay, how many people actually finish the quant section? Nobody. So I keep getting this question every year for the last 20 some years of teaching GRE. How do I finish quant? And your answer is you don't. All right. How do you finish quant, everybody? You don't. All right, cool. All right, you can't. No one does. I did not. I got a perfect score once on quant. I did not finish the quant section. All right, now you can get a perfect score in in the quant section and still get like I think up to 5 wrong depending on how you do. All right, so you can get like 5 wrong on the whole test and still get a 170, a perfect score. So how do you finish quant? You don't. All right, good. So that's coming up in the chat window. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about the layout of quant and then acknowledging that you are not going to finish quant and then a little bit about the way the test is structured here. So any individual quant section, you got 20 questions, 35 minutes, averaging to a minute 45 each. Now, I hate this thinking about a minute 45 each. Why? Well, a lot of people get obsessed with doing every question in under 2 minutes, and you can't. That doesn't happen. Some questions will take you 45 seconds, some questions will take you 30 seconds, some questions will take you 3 minutes. It balances, and you don't want to take 2 minutes on a 20-second question, and you don't want to take 2 minutes on a 5-minute question. Either way, it's either a waste of time or you're guaranteeing you're going to get it wrong. So let's talk about the layout. The layout really never changes, maybe 1 or 2 questions here or there. You got 6 or 7 quant comps, the two comparing 2 columns, which one's greater, which generally take less time per question. Then you've got what they call discrete quant, and these are old school SAT style questions of multiple choice questions and the like. And then data interpretation is charts and graphs, which may take a little more time, and then discrete quant is back to problem solving again. All right, cool. Now, those of you who have taken a GRE before, which of these are most likely to take the most time? Quant comp, discrete quant, or data interpretation? Just in general, which ones suck up more time? Yeah, okay. So the data interpretation have a tendency to suck up more time. All right. Some of the individual questions in discrete quant are absolute monsters. So here's what you want to do. You need to acknowledge, I'm not finishing. And then you need to choose your battles. And this is how you get the highest score possible. So let's say out of these 7 quantitative comparison questions, I'm going to try to knock all of these out, as many as I can. However, I am now about to have a boxing match against 7 competitors. And in order to get my $1 million, I have to win against, so I'm doing a boxing match against 7 people. Mixed martial arts fighting against 7 people. All right. And some of these people weigh like 100 pounds, right? Some of these weigh 120 pounds. And number 5 is Mike Tyson. Okay. So one weighs 100 pounds, one may weigh like, 190-ish or something like that, right? Somebody else might be, so if I need to win $1 million and I need to win against 6 of these people out of 7, how do I win? How do I maximize my chances of winning against 6 out of 7 people? Yeah, skip Mike Tyson. Why? I can't win. There's no way I'm going to win, and I'm going to get the shit kicked out of me. So what's going to happen is if you try to do every question in order, that's like trying to fight Mike Tyson. So I may win 4 out of these 7 fights because I'm going to do question number 1, competitor number 2, competitor number 3, competitor number 4, and then I'm going to hit Mike Tyson, and I'm done. Right? I've gotten 4. If I ever skip Mike Tyson, I'm way more likely to get my 6. All right. So I need to start making better decisions about what I can win and what I can and what's going to suck up my time and what's not going to suck up my time. If you need to get 17 out of these 20 questions right, well, I need to be able to identify this is the evil time suck of doom. That one is just gonna, I can do it, but it's gonna take me much time. These data interpretation questions, all right, these two, you know what, I'm just gonna skip those all together. I'm gonna get these done, I'm gonna come back to these, I'm gonna skip number 15, I'll go back to 11, and then maybe if I have 10 minutes left, I'll go back and fight my, all right. So I need to be willing and able to bounce all over this test and be aggressive about it and say, not today, Satan, about a lot of this. And that's pretty much my how do you finish quant in a nutshell is you don't, and you got to choose your battles. You got to learn yourself well enough, or at least learn to recognize questions that are going to be both a time suck. So if you want Uncle Neil's advice right off the bat is I want you to rock through 1 through 7 as quickly as you can, but skip anything that's awful. 8 through 12 as well as you can, skip anything that's awful. Jump your data interpretation, finish these, come back to data interpretation, and let yourself one at a time from there. That's your basic pacing strategy. But along the way, I'm going to skip this, I'm going to skip this, I may come back to number 5 or 18, depending, and the like. So that's our basic in a nutshell about pacing. I do want to talk about practicing that in a way that is going to make sense to you. So you've got all of these tools available to you on the GRE that take practice to learn how to use in an acceptable way. So let's talk about maximizing your score. And again, we cover this in detail in class 1 also of any of our GRE classes. So I want to consider my questions into 3 categories. Now categories, like I can bang this out in a relatively short amount of time, 2 minutes, above 2 minutes, under 2 minutes, whatever. I can do it. I know I've got this. I'm cool. Later is, oof, I can do this, but it's going to suck up some time, so I'm going to bail on this one for now. Or I'm halfway through a question and I'm stuck. I need to move this to later. And then there are the Mike Tyson questions. This is a nasty probability with 6 different variables and various combinatorics, whatever. So I need to practice using my head to make that assessment, and also the tools that are available to me on the GRE to maximize my score based on this. All right, so if a question is now, what do you do? Do it. All right, cool. Do it, get it done. If it has to move into later, great, whatever. But here's the deal. Is there a guessing penalty on the test? No. Okay, so at the very least, I need to guess anything. If I need to come back to it, I may mark it. If I'm like, oof, man, I was down to these 2 don't really match, and that's more of a match for that one. I can't right now. I got to get out, move it to later. Maybe mark it, but probably don't mark it. Now, what a mark does is this is your indication that I'm going to come back to this question a little bit later. All right, so with a later question, a one, I look at it, I go, oh, this is going to be 5 minutes. Okay, so is there a guessing penalty? No. I might not get back to it, so I need to log a guess, and I know I'm coming back to it, so I'm going to mark it. All right, so no guessing penalty. I got to put an answer in there, B, C. Pick a letter of the day. Your dog name is David, so I'm going to go D for David for the rest of the day, or whatever, whatever I feel like. I'm going to make a guess, I'm going to mark it, and I'm going to bail. I'm going to click next as quickly as possible. As soon as I look at a problem, go, no. All right. What about a never question? What do you think you should do? Guess or no guess? All right, absolutely guess. Mark or no mark? Ah, very good. No mark. Do not mark that question. It is gone. You're glossing over it. You're not worrying about it. You're not thinking about it. So if I come to the end of the test, I got 5 minutes left to this 35-minute section. I want to maybe click on this review screen here and say, okay, where am I? I have some options right now. Now, if this may be actually a verbal section, because number 12 and 14, I can almost guarantee you are those 2 blanks, are those 2 answer sentence equivalences, and you picked 1 answer and you move on. So let's talk about priorities with 5 minutes left. What am I going to do at this point to maximize my score? Anything that's incomplete and not answered, go get those guesses in there. So I'm going to go to number 3, answer it. Number 6, answer it. Number 12, pick another answer. Number 14, pick another answer. 18, 19, 20, pick another answer. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 questions that I now stand much more of a likelihood of getting right. I'm probably just picked up 2 points on the test just from that alone, just by getting everything answered. 5 minutes left. Then what am I going to go back to? If 12 and 13 bear a little more thought, sure. I'm definitely going to go back to maybe my marked ones, but I may glance at 18, 19, 20 to see if anything's easier. In 5 minutes, how many questions can you legitimately get done? Can you especially if these are in the harder, later, never stage? How many do you think you can knock out? Yeah, so probably 1 or 2. And you need to take a deep breath and realize that's all I'm going to do. So what I want to do is anything not answered or incomplete or not seen, got to get an answer in. So that's the point in 20 seconds. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe knock out 1 question, especially one I've seen before, because I can probably have an insight to that I didn't have before. So I'm going to go back and do one of the marked ones. And maybe if I have 2, 3 minutes left, I'm going to check one of 18, 19, 20 and knock out my favorite of those. So what I've done is I've picked up 3 or 4 more. I've picked up 2 questions from doing it, maybe 1 or 2 from just logging my guesses, just by judicious use of pacing and really thoroughly marking what I need to mark and not marking crap I have no intention. All right, that's how you finish Quant, because you're not going to. All right, folks, that's me for the day. That's your free GRE prep hour. So if you're interested in upcoming classes, I have a class starting Sunday that I would love for you to join. The name of it is Fall F Online, I think. I will check that on my calendar app here in a moment. But ManhattanPrep.com, GRE.com classes. So that's coming up. My classes on Sunday evenings at 6 p.m., I believe. So check that out for us. Every first class for you is free, so you can go and take our first class for free. So that's a free trial class in addition to this one. Other recordings are on YouTube as well. I've been Neil Thornton. Let me know if you got other questions, but have a lovely day otherwise, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Take care.